What's going on, everybody? Welcome back again. We back with your big brother right here. We talking about good character for another week in a row. How you feeling today?
I'm feeling well. I've done a lot today, man. Cutting grass, working out, is trimming the grass, and doing the edge and things. But I'm feeling okay, man. I just kind of got me a little what they call a power nap. I'm ready to roll a little bit. So let's
I
let's do it.
understand. So I know when you get older and up in age, it's still good to stay in shape. So I'm glad that you did all that. But like I said, this week we talking about this again. Good character, brother. Why do you think we got to keep talking about this?
Well, because it's so many facets of this character that we're talking about. Because a lot of people don't understand that that's where it all boils down to. It's like what's inside of you. And tonight we're going to specifically look at the warnings because we've talked about character, how to build it, how to develop it. But tonight we're going to give out some warnings because, Chaz, we got to look out for these warnings when we're developing character. Because if we don't look out for these warnings, then we're going to slip back into that same old mindset where we're not going to be productive. And I just want to say this broadcast can be seen every Wednesday from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock Central Standard Time, and at 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock on the East Coast and the Midwest. And we want to get into it and see the warnings. What do we look for when we're developing character? What do we be looking out for so that we don't slip back into that same old rut that we came out of when it comes to trying to be better people?
Okay, let's go ahead and get started. It says warnings. What to look out for when looking what warnings to look out for when working on developing your character. And we go into letter A. Bad habits that take away from developing your character. Now, I had uploaded this. Now, I disagree with a few of them, but I agree with most of them. Number one, heavy drinking. Sometimes people drink, they can't continue a task, they're late to their task, or sometimes they don't even do it all together. Number two, heavy smoking. That's tied into the drinking. Now, look at this one. They got some chains on this brother's feet, the smartphone addiction. A lot of us, and myself included, these smartphones are wearing our behinds out because we put things off that we should be doing. We get really, really tired easily because these phones are draining us. And that was a heavy one. Now, these two in the middle, I disagree with. The hard working, you should be a hard worker. To me, that's a good character. That's a person who's very, very prideful and they're eager to get stuff done. And then the coffee addiction helps people stay awake and alert. And then the other three on the bottom, drug use, gluttony, and using that smartphone again. Those were some heavy hitters right there, man.
Yeah, they really are. And see, this is what we have to look out for. So tonight we're asking you to look out for these bad habits. This is going to take away from developing your character. When you're working on your character as far as how to be a better person, how to be on time, how to do what you say you're going to do, you can't slip into these bad habits. And that's a beautiful image that you put on there because it has all these habits that they take us away from working on ourselves because we're too busy smoking dope. We're too busy drinking alcohol. We're too busy being on that cell phone. And
Yeah.
that's a big one right there. That smartphone, that cell phone, it has done us much disservice. And a lot of us don't want to acknowledge it. But when we think about it, Chaz, our character will never be developed if we're too tied up with our stick in our face in a phone 24/7.
Yeah, and like I said, I agree with all these except those two with the hard working and coffee addiction. To me, coffee gives you energy, and two, hard working is something that we all should strive to be and all strive to do. Let me go ahead real quick. We got a comment here. Let me go ahead and see what that's about. Sister Marie, she fires in here. She says, Hotel Brothers. We appreciate her for checking in. And as we go ahead and move on to the next one here, it says peer pressure. Now, this was another one that I found. Now, I think this is a little kid, but here's a good scenario here. Now, on one side, he has some homeboy saying, come on, brother, you can do this. Study hard. They telling him, keep going, brother. You got this. And then he's got some other people on the side saying, let's skip this class. And then the other one says, let's smoke, dude. So they're telling him, he has two sides of people. One side is giving him good peer pressure, motivating him and encouraging him. And then the other side is trying to get him to do the right thing. He's confused. And from what I see, he looks like he's ready to do the wrong thing because he's constantly looking at them.
Well, yeah, I want to chime in on this one too, because let's keep things in context, Chaz, because when we're working on our character and we're trying to be better people, because we all have things to work on, then we have to be careful because some people will say, for example, if I'm working on not procrastinating, some people might tell me as this image they may put in my ear, oh, you ain't got to be on time, Ja. Just
Right.
show up when you want to. You'll work that out in its own. It'll work its own stuff out. So I get what they're saying, because when you're working on, like, stop lying, somebody might say, well, that's not a lie. It's a white lie. I mean, everybody lies. So what they're trying to do is take you off your game. And that peer pressure comes from friends, from family, and we have to be cognizant or aware that this is going on. So this is an excellent image to show that when we're working on things, people are going to stop us or try their best. So these are warnings, Shaz. These are serious warnings. If you want to be a better person and work on ourselves, you better be ready for that peer pressure.
Absolutely. And there's always good peer pressure, and then there's bad peer pressure, but you always want to lean on the side of having good peer pressure. As we go into letter C, it's this anger that controls your actions. Your brain's amygdala, which we've talked about on this program before, is hijacked your logical thinking. Now, when this happens, these are some solutions that I found out. Number one, physically step away for 4 to 5 seconds or even 4 to 5 minutes. Let your nervous system calm down. And my other point is for 4 seconds, cause your body to do inhale and exhale breathing so that way you don't explode. And the reason why I'm saying that is because normally, brother, when we get angry, we got to act right then and there. We got to show that person up right then and there. And that's bad character, because some of the times that anger and that frustration, it's not worth it. So like I just mentioned, step away for a few seconds and practice inhale and exhale breathing. That way you don't blow a gasket or explode on someone.
Yeah, because when you're working on yourself, sometimes we get angry. You know,
Yeah.
you might be working on a certain aspect of life, and then anger will say, "Man, I can't do this," and then all of a sudden it's going to control us. So this is a perfect point that is being made here that we have to look out for. Some of us throw conniption fits. Some of us explode when we're working on ourselves. Like, say if a person says, I want to stop drinking so much, and they say, I'm going to just drink a little bit. I'm just going to maybe have one beer or one glass of wine, because we're not knocking it. It's just when you're doing so much and you're saying, I'm going to work on that. And then all of a sudden you get angry. You know what? Man, I can't do this. And then we start slipping and going into that slippery slope. And before you know it, we're in the same boat that we came out of. So we got to really check that anger, because that anger will control what we do if we're not careful. And this is an excellent point that we're talking about tonight.
Yeah, and in our good book, some say you can have anger, have good anger, but don't let it cause you to sin. And we all are human. We all are going to get angry, but a lot of us don't know how to have anger and just sit down, shut up, or sit down and step away. We always got to show somebody up, make them feel embarrassed, make them feel bad, instead of saying, you know what, I'm angry, but I'm not even going to let this person get under my skin. I'm going to let them have it for this moment, because every action doesn't deserve a reaction. As we go to letter D, dishonesty even in the small things. Now, there was a study by a college, I forget the college's name, but basically this college noted that when people who lied about small things eventually start to lie about bigger things. So once this thing continuously grows and grows and grows, there's no telling what this person will lie about, and you can't really trust that person. So this college basically confirmed through some study that when people lie, even about things that's insignificant, they'll start to lie about bigger things, and that's not a good situation to be in.
Yeah, when you're working on your character, once again, these are warnings. When you're working on your character, you have to look out for being dishonest. In other words, Chaz, this is a beautiful example I'm about to give you. If I tell you, you know what, I'm working on how I treat people, and then you check me and say, well, big brother, how has that been going? And instead of me being honest, I lie to you and say, oh, Chaz, it's going well. I'm being dishonest when I know I'm still treating people like crap. So
Mm.
instead of being honest and saying, Chaz, I gotta work harder because I'm falling in this area and I'm not doing so well, I'll tell you, well, man, I'm doing so great. See, this is where the dishonesty comes in, even in small things. So
Right.
when you look at developing character, because it's all about trying to be a better person. And this is why I like doing these types of broadcasts, because these are broadcasts that build people up. It doesn't tear them down. It gives them hope. It gives them the opportunity to make those things that are not right, to make those things right in their life. And a lot of us, Chaz, and I have to be honest, a lot of us are dishonest when it comes to developing our character, because what do we say every week? I'm gonna work on that. I'm gonna work on that. I'm gonna work on me. Knowing, lying through our teeth, knowing we're not gonna do it. So we're hypocrites. And
Yeah.
this is why we can't shoot straight when it comes to being honest, because we're dishonest. So when you're working on your character, if you don't do well, if I don't do well, be honest and say, well, I'm not doing as much as I thought I would. I need to work harder. Or if you're doing okay, say, you know what? I'm right where I need to be. But this dishonesty, it's got to stop, man, if you want to be a better person.
Absolutely. Now I'm going to go ahead and address a couple of the comments we got in, and this is a good brother. I'm glad that he checked in because I've noticed this myself. Brother Raymond fires in here. He says, "Did you change your page name?" Yes. So what you have to do, Brother Raymond, or for any other new viewers, if you own the Facebook page, you got to go to the search box. It used to be Cry's Womb. Don't do that anymore. Type in JAHIOSAZE. Once again, JAHIOSAZE, and the page will pop up. That's the new page name, how you can find us if there's any new viewers and they're wondering, well, where did they go? That's the new page name. But we appreciate you, Raymond, for finding that out for us. And then he also says, when it comes to anger versus tolerance, balance is the key. And always act and react to your benefit, maximize. Absolutely. You got to balance that thing out. There's some of us, we always got a hot temper. We're known for being a firecracker. We're known for being a exploder. So he said, no, you can't do that. You got to balance this thing out, is basically what he's saying. And that's how you develop good character. We appreciate that, Ray. As we move on to the next one here, E, laziness, lack of discipline. Now, I found this. Now, some may say this is extreme, but this is laziness. Now, whoever this person is, and I know I make this sound simple. All they had to do was get up off their behind and clean some of that stuff up, throw some of that stuff away, sweep some of that. That's how you're going to attract mice, roaches, all kind of things. And this is lazy. And when you're lazy, you lack discipline. For example, we all get tired. We all get sleepy a little bit, but you got to keep going. You can't let that be an excuse to say, I'm not going to do anything for the next couple of weeks. I'm done with this thing. You got to keep chipping away at it, even when you get tired. And when you do, give yourself a booster like an energy drink or something like that. But this picture right here, whoever is living in that condition, that's terrible, man.
Yeah, and when you're developing your character, you can't be lazy because it's going to take work. And I hope we're making this practical. I hope we're making it pragmatic. I hope we're making this simple for you all, because we're just trying to let you know that when you're trying to better yourself, you're going to have to be careful. And these are the warnings that we're giving you. And laziness is a warning, also lack of discipline. In other words, not sticking to the task. Starting off saying it's like these silly New Year's resolutions, which you shouldn't have to wait for a certain time of the year to do it. But we say we're going to do things, and then we start off doing it. And within the next 2 or 3 weeks or months from when we said it, we find ourselves in the same situation and sometimes perhaps even worse. So when you're working on becoming a better person, and when I'm working on becoming a better person, it's going to take work, Chaz. And I think many of us think that we can just speak things into existence, or it's not going to require work. And like I tell all people all the time, when we gain weight and we're trying to lose weight, you know, we think that after 2 weeks, if we haven't shed 50 to 70 pounds, we feel like we have not accomplished anything. And the question and the challenge is, it didn't take you 2 or 3 weeks to put that on. So it's not going to take you 2 or 3 weeks to get that off. But that's a good point as well. Whenever we're trying to work on ourselves, as we keep things in context, Chaz, developing character. Let me ask you this before we go to the next point.
Okay.
Why do you think when people are developing character, why do you think many of us fall into this slippery sloping mode of being lazy? We start off okay. What makes us just one day we're excited? I'm going to start working out. I'm going to start doing this. And then within maybe a month or so, the air is let out of the balloon. What do you think that reason is for?
2 reasons. Number one, we lack motivation. And for number two, when we don't see the instant results that we intended to get, we fold up. So that's basically it. The lack of motivation. And B, we do not see the results that we want to instantly. So we say, you know what? This isn't worth it. I'm done. I'm tired. I don't have patience for this. In fact, I'm not even going to stress myself out with this because I don't think it's worth it. So those are my two reasons why I think we're in that.
That's pretty good.
As we go ahead and move on to the next one here. It says pride and arrogance. Now I don't know who this is. I just found this on Google, but this brother is saying, do away with pride and arrogance. And I don't wish this upon no one, but here's what happens a lot of times in life. A lot of these people who are prideful and are arrogant, are cocky and boastful, sometimes later down in life, they get hit with a sickness. They get hit with a disease. Something terrible happens. Then everybody is all feeling, he wants help. He wants people to look out for him. He's looking for motivation to help. But when you were up, you looked down on us. When you were up, you scoffed at us. When you were up, you really thought you were better than us. So I'm saying all that to say this is that you can't think more highly of yourself, because at the end of the day, we all got to go 6 feet deep. We're all going back in the casket. So just because of your material or whatever you have, that does not make you better than you or me. It just makes you really look foolish. So shout out to this brother, Evan O.C. Frimpong. It's a book he wrote, but I'm just looking at the key thing. He's saying, do away with pride and arrogance.
Yeah, and sometimes when we're developing our character and we actually do what we say we're going to do, we say we're going to stop doing whatever it is we're doing, or we're going to start doing something positive. When we do it, and then people say, how did you do it? Instead of saying it was hard work, I had to have a lot of discipline, we become prideful and we say, look at me, right. I'm better than you. Or we look down at other people who have those issues where they may say, I'm still struggling with whatever it is. And we'll say, well, I used to struggle with that, but I don't struggle anymore. And then we start telling people, all you have to do is, and everything is not the way I say it. Everybody's challenge is not the same as mine. And even those who are having the same challenges, there's different methods of getting and achieving our goal. But a lot of times we try to look down on people and talk down to people and have a haughty mindset because we're thinking that we're better than other people when we're developing character. You may not have a problem in one area, and I may have a problem in another area. But just because you have a problem in one area and I don't, that doesn't mean I'm better than you or I have all the solutions to life. And we got to stop that. And that's a warning, because I hear a lot of us say, man, to an alcoholic, man, I don't have that problem. Oh, you drink too much. Man, if all you got to do is just do this. And it's not that simple to them because they're struggling, man. And we got to stop this nonsense, because that's why a lot of people are struggling right today.
Absolutely. We got a couple new comments that just came in here. We appreciate you guys for keeping being involved here. Ray says that is an illness called hoarding. Yep, he's talking about that picture I showed. There are some people who deal with that, and my heart goes out to those people who are dealing with that, because at the end of the day, yes, it's hoarding, but it's still laziness. Now, this next one is deep that he wrote, and I want to comment on this. He says sometimes a lack of motivation stems from depression. Now, this is absolutely true. And for all the people who are dealing with depression, I'm not here to tease you. I'm not here to make fun of you. If you're on meds, I would wish that you don't take them because they have more negative side effects. But if you have to take them, take them. Try to get yourself out of that rut and stop taking them after a few weeks, because they cause so much more side effects. But for the people who are suffering with depression, it is hard sometimes when you don't see any hope. It is hard when you don't see anything coming up. It's hard when you don't see any kind of motivation. So for the people who are depressed, my heart goes out to you. Get the help that you need. And I'm hoping and wishing that eventually you can break out of that. And once again, don't let depression get you to doing stupid things such as smoking and drinking and acting a fool. But if you're on meds, take them and try to get off of them as soon as possible. Let me see here. Our brother just logged off here. Let me see what's going on. Maybe he's having technical difficulties. Let's see here. Let me send this brother another invite. I don't know what happened, but let me see here. Okay, I sent the brother another invite. Hopefully he comes back on quickly, but I'll go ahead and try to finish this the best way I can until he comes back. Letter G. It says making excuses instead of focusing on the task before you. Now, that is true. A lot of us make excuses, and this comes from number one, the feeling of failure, or two, being overwhelmed. Now, we all feel overwhelmed. We all feel the state of failure, but we can't let this dictate to us our outcome. Even though the task may be hard, you still got to keep going, still keep trucking, still keep going through it. But don't let this make you throw in the towel and fold up and not really want to do anything else. Let me go ahead and move on to the next point here. Letter H says jealousy of others. Now, I really don't like that because you should be able to look at people's success and be thankful and happy. But when you're always hating or going back and forth and feel like, you don't measure up in life, that's not a good way to live. Now, give me 1 second. The brother is logged back on here. Go ahead and say something.
Yeah, that was a technical difficulty on my end, and yeah, I think it should be fixed now. But yeah, were you finished talking about the jealousy of others, or you want to finish up and then I can jump in there?
Oh no, I was basically it. I was just basically saying in a nutshell, people who feel jealous of others, you can't always look at other people's success and feel bad about yourself. You don't know how these people got to where they are. And even if they are up and even if they are doing good, be glad for them because I was always told this old quote, comparison is the thief of joy. So always comparing, always wishing that you could be like this and like that. It's not good for your mental health and it will drive you down depression.
Yeah, and when you're developing your character, you don't have time to be jealous. See, you have too much work to do. I have too much work to do. And that's what the problem is with many of us. We always like to look at other people and then we get jealous when people are not measuring up to what we want them to, or vice versa. So when you're trying to work on yourself, you don't have time to be jealous. I mean,
Right.
that's one of the most ridiculous things I've heard. In other words, you may say, well, John, I've been working on this, or, such and such a thing. And instead of me saying, that's a good thing, Chazz, that's beautiful, man, that you're working on that. Instead of that, I'm jealous now. Instead of me working on myself, now I'm running around here, got my face all contorted, talking crazy, because I don't understand that this is a human problem.
Right.
Every one of us that's viewing this, we all have some psychological problems. And I know Raymond said earlier, which was nice, it was true about that hoarding being an illness. We have a lot of people who are sick, is what I'm saying. That's an illness. We have some sickness. And so this is why I want us to see, when you're trying to be a better person, don't be jealous of other people. Be who you are and love who you are and just work on it. And if it takes you a long time, if it takes me a long time to develop that certain aspect of my character, all I can say is just work on it. And that's the thing that we have to look at.
Brother Ray Fires in here. He says making excuses is a good way to fool yourself. Absolutely. Because in fact, that's the easiest thing to do. It's easy to sit back, make an excuse. It's easy to sit back, not want to motivate yourself, not want to do nothing. And in fact, when you keep making these excuses, you'll start to feel easy and feel competent with being lazy and feeling like you don't have to work on yourself because you feel like since I'm making these excuses, there's nothing really left to improve. So I'm good. And like he's saying, you're fooling yourself when you think that way.
Yeah, when you're developing your character, you shouldn't make excuses, but I know how we all are. That's a cop out. And I'm telling you, I'm going to stop doing X, Y, Z. And then you say, well, John, what happened? Are you're checking on me to say how you've been doing with that area you're working on. And instead of me being honest, I'm going to start saying, well, then I start bringing up all these excuses. This is what we do. Humanity is like that. So it's like, even he says here, and then sometimes we get envious of other people and we want to be the way they are. And we had something on this last week when it talks about developing character. Be yourself. Quit trying to be like people that you'll never achieve. Quit trying to be like these celebrities, these movie stars, these athletes, these social media gurus, and all these people, these religious people, these spiritual people. Be yourself and work on yourself. And I'll get sick of hearing us say this when you say, how you been doing, brother? Oh, you know me, man. I'm just working on myself. I've been saying that for 30 years and I'm still saying the same thing, even though I don't see. Now, we should be working on ourselves, but we don't see any progress, is what I'm saying. We just say the same thing. And so we got to do a better job, all of us.
I want to take his comment and spin it. Now I hear your point, but I'm looking at it the more serious. When he says envy of others, I'm taking it from the aspect because I've heard a lot of people say this, where they want something bad to happen to that individual. They're hoping that the repo man comes by and get that Cadillac. They're hoping that the house gets repossessed. So when he says envy of others, what I just told to you, that's how I feel most people do envy others. They wishing that something bad is happening because, in fact, they don't feel confident in themselves, so they feel like, well, if something bad happens to him, that's what he or she gets, and they deserve that, which that's totally uncalled for. But then he has one more comment. He says, jealousy is when you have something that you're afraid somebody can take. Envy is when a person has something that you admire so much that you resent them. That's literally why I just said that last part, where you really want something bad to happen to them. You hope sometime that these people die and pass away. And I mean, that's a sick way of thinking. But we really do. We appreciate those comments. Please keep them coming in as we move on to the next one. Letter I, constant complaining. Now I'll let you take this one and I'll piggyback off of it.
Yeah, when you're working on your character, once again, tonight's broadcast is about these warnings that we have to look out for when we're trying to be better people. And it's hard to put things in context, but I'm trying to get us to just understand whenever you're trying to work on yourself, we don't have to continue to complain. In other words, if I say to you, Chazz, I'm working on being honest. And then when you ask me how was that going, I complain about it. Oh, I'm so sick of this stuff, man. I've been doing this now for about 5 months. I'm tired of this. So I'm constantly complaining. I'm never saying this is going well. I'm struggling. I'm doing a better job. I have a long way to go. I'm not being forthright. So I'm always complaining. And then you get to the point where you don't want to ask me because you know I'm going to complain about it. And this is how I feel in many instances when I'm talking to people. Every time you talk to them, they're not talking about developing character. They're just complaining. Now, if they're complaining about developing character, even that should be at a minimum because, Chazz, we're too old right now as people to continue to allow what we should be working on to get the best of us. We're just too old for that. And a lot of us don't want to have this discussion because it's going to call us to the carpet. We're skirting around the issue. And the issue is this. Okay. You need to grow up. I need to grow up. Every one of us need to grow up. But until we look out for these warnings, we're never going to develop our character because these different points that we're making are going to be the roadblocks that's going to stop us from getting where we need to go.
And I agree with you with the constant complaining, especially if you're learning something new. You don't know or you're unfamiliar with this area. So, of course, it's going to take you some time to understand it. But like you said, we're constantly griping. We're constantly complaining. We're tired. We don't want to do it. In fact, some days we want to do it. Some days we don't. And with the constant complaining, it gets nerve-wracking and it gets irritating because, like you said, every time you talk to that individual, it's always something bad happening to them. They can never get on top. Woe is me, where there are days that you feel that way, but you got to say, you know what, that was this day. Now I'm going to put that behind me and move forward. But when you constantly complaining like that, nobody wants to be around you. In fact, people are running away from you when they see you call. They're trying to dodge you. And you shouldn't be in a state like that where you always complaining because in this life, there's always going to be something that's going to happen to you. And you cannot let it get the best of you to where every day you just constantly griping and constantly complaining.
And we're spending our energy in the wrong places. Instead of taking all that energy, complaining, and putting it on trying to develop our character, being better people, we're looking at something that we shouldn't be looking at. So we should just kind of transfer that. And if there's anyone out there that's going through this constant complaining, take all those complaints and put them in that basket of how can I be a better person? And all of us know, I know, and everyone who's watching this broadcast, you know where your character needs development. So start looking at how do I become that person that's not whatever it is that we're trying to stop doing or whatever it is that we need to do. We got to start developing character, man, how to treat people, how to treat ourselves, how to treat the elders, how to treat the youth. We got to start developing this character because we live in a city, we live in a place, a world, a state, a country where we live in a concrete jungle. and it's
Yeah.
anything goes, and it shouldn't be that way, especially with those who look like us, who care, who say we care for people.
Yeah, when you said that, that reminded me of brother. He passed away. Brother Bob Marley had a song called "Concrete Jungle," and he talked about how vicious this world is. And when you said that, that really brought me back to that. One more thing, brother Ray fires in here. He says, "As long as you do all you can, venting is okay. But if you're not going to do anything about it, hush." And that was well said. It's okay to vent because we all go through things. It's okay to get it out your system, get it off your chest. But like this brother said, if you're going to keep complaining and not do anything about it, you basically wasting your energy and wasting your breath is all he's saying. So we
Yeah.
appreciate that.
And you got to look at the difference between what he's saying and what I'm saying as far as venting and complaining, constant complaining. Venting is just talking about something that you want to deal with. That's fine, like he said. But
Right,
when I say constant complaining and not working on yourself, we have to look out for that's a warning. We have to take heed to these warnings, you see. And this broadcast, again, is so practical because in its context, we're talking about what to look out for when we're trying to develop our character.
right,
So saying a few things about, Chaz, you say, well, Ja, how's it going? And I say, I'm gonna vent to you and say, this is what I'm struggling with right now. But every time you see me, I'm saying the same thing. I'm constantly complaining. I'm not doing anything about it. And the second part of his comment is true. If you're not going to do anything about it, he says, hush. And I just say, shut your mouth.
okay. You brothers are really talking some good stuff at the end. I like that. And to go ahead and move on to the next one here. Letter K, ignoring good advice. Now, this is one we all suffer from. Now, there's some who feel like they're perfect. When you tell them something, they always ignore it. They say that you hating. They say that, you don't, who are you to tell me and you don't know nothing. But sometimes that advice, it is good. If you can take that advice and apply it to your life, apply it. But see, in this society, we think every time someone tells us something, we think that they're trying to show us up, belittle us, and it's not about that. And to me, your character can never become better if you think you got all the answers to life and can't nobody tell you nothing. That's a recipe for disaster. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
And check this out. When we're talking about developing character, and if I say, Chaz, I have a problem with maybe lying, and I need to work on telling the truth. And so I'm going to start telling everybody the truth. And then you come to me and say, well, John, here's something you might want to add. And you give me some good advice about how not to lie. This warning is telling me to not ignore what you're saying. See, we ignore what you're saying because what you're saying is going to help me. But when a gorilla comes to me and tells me something foolish, I will accept what the gorilla says, or I will accept what the movie stars say. I will accept what the athletes say. I will
Right,
accept what the spiritual man say. I will accept what the religious man say. I will accept what the educators say. I will
right,
accept what the gurus say, which is not good advice. But when you come to me and other people that's just practical say, they say to me, John, I heard you said you're working on your character in that area, you're working on being honest. And then you say, well, here's a tip. Think about this. And it's a good tip. Just be honest with people. And even when it hurts sometimes, just tell the people the truth. And instead of me listening to you, oh man, I ain't hearing that. But as soon as my favorite entertainer gets on TV and tells me something foolish to do, I'm going to believe that because I'm
right.
caught up in that. And these warnings said, I think people are not understanding this broadcast tonight. In other words, you have to watch out for this. Do not ignore good advice. This is a warning if you want to become a better person.
I think, and I'm gonna say this real quick before we move on. You're absolutely right. I do believe that depending on what, let's say, for example, if an average person says something compared to a high status or a highly educated brother or sister, we both could be saying the same thing. But because he or she has more money, or because he or she is more well known, the people are going to take that advice as the gospel compared to me or you or an average Joe that tells people that. They'll look at us and think that we're crazy. And it's like, I cannot believe in society this is what it's come to. Depending on your education and how much money you have in the bank, or if you're on TV, we'll accept that. But when you or I say it, we won't take it. I mean, this is ridiculous, man. Brother Ray has another comment. He says, from experience, giving advice can get you in trouble. Okay, I hope not, depending on
Well,
what kind of advice.
Well. What we're talking about here is, and he got some smiling faces, so he's
He's
having
playing.
fun with us.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
what we're dealing with again, he's right. Sometimes you can give advice and get you in trouble. But if we're talking about developing character, and someone gives us good advice, we just need to accept it, take
Yeah.
it, and do it. Put it into practice. So I don't know. I know he's having
He's
fun, but
yeah,
it won't get you in trouble because all you're doing is telling me a tip, unless
yeah.
that person you're talking to is an idiot and don't understand that you're trying to help them and not trying to hurt them. But yeah, he's having fun
I,
with us, and I see what he's saying.
yeah, I think he's playing too. I was gonna say, unless he meant when you tell somebody something, they get to fighting, because some people will
Yeah.
get like that. When you tell them something, they get to fighting and shooting, in which that's stupid. But I think he's playing around. Now this one is serious. Seeking approval from everyone. You're never going to get everybody's approval. There's always going to be somebody in this world that's unsatisfied with you. And if you're always trying to get their praise and approval, you're going to be depressed. You're going to be angry. You're going to be upset, because nobody in this world is liked by everybody. And that to me shows low self esteem,
Mm.
low morals. And it means that basically you can't live for yourself because you want everybody to think of you in a certain way. And everybody's not going to feel that way about you. So you got to learn to say, I'm going to do the best I can for me, but I shouldn't be living for others, because they'll never make you satisfied.
Yeah, and I want to put this back in its context. When you're developing character, when you're working on yourself, you cannot seek approval from everyone, as you just mentioned, because you could be doing great when you're working on something in your life that you need to work on. And you know in your heart, you put a lot of time in it, put a lot of effort in it, and now you see the results. You're saying, what I'm working on is happening now. I'm becoming a better person in this part of my life. And then some knothead comes behind you and say, "Oh man, you ain't doing that well." And then because you want their approval, you start to doubt what you're doing. So then you become like putty, you become like clay, you become like dough, and they make you what they want you to be, as opposed to you saying, "You know what? That's your opinion, and I appreciate you saying that, but it
Right.
doesn't matter to me whether you agree or not." Or you say to somebody, "You know what? I'm gonna work on stop drinking." And then they tell you, they later on, you're trying to get their approval. How am I doing? It's not for them to tell you. You already know. You're a grown man. You
Right.
already know what you're doing, and that calls to somebody to have a strong backbone. And
Yeah.
sometimes you got to tell people, you know what? I'm not looking for your approval. I just ask you your advice, but your approval is something different. I don't need your approval. I know what I need to do, and what, regardless of what 50 people say, I'm going to do what I have to do, and that's where strength comes in, and that's where power comes in.
I hate this too. Some people can't think for themselves. Whereas, for example, I may really like a certain shoe, and I know for a fact I may have a certain amount of money, and I'm going to purchase it. But if I ask 4 or 5 of my family members, I say, "What do y'all think about this shoe?" And if all 5 of those family members say, "Oh, those shoes are ugly. I ain't feeling them," then I'll all of a sudden not go get the shoe. I will all of a sudden change my tune. And this is crazy. And you see a lot of that where people are so fickle. All it takes is to get 4 or maybe 3 or 4 people's opinion, and all of a sudden they shift and they turn. I hate, and I really do, I hate when people can't think for themselves, or they always got to see what social media says in order to have their own take. I mean, this is ridiculous,
And that
man.
goes back to what you said earlier, Chaz. This is that low self-esteem you're talking about. See, when the esteem is low, it needs something to boost it up. And when people don't put you on a pedestal or tell you great things, then you start doing what Raymond said. You start getting depressed. So now you're
Mm,
angry. So now all this stuff has snowballed on you. And now you can't get out from under all of this crap because you're seeking approval from everyone. And this is a terrible thing. So this warning right here is a beautiful warning,
yeah,
because when you start seeking approval from everyone and you don't get it, and you won't get it, like you said, you won't get it,
right.
that's going to cause problems. That's going to create havoc in your life. And
Yeah,
this is why we have a multiplicity of issues that find us in a bad way, because we just don't know how to think, as you mentioned, for ourselves and do what we have to do to better ourselves.
letter M. Fear of criticism. Now, once again, this is something where people are going to always criticize you. People are going to always have something to say, but you shouldn't be living for others' criticism. People are always going to have their mouth running. People are always going to say something negative about you. You got to say, you know what? I'm going to make the best decision I can. I'm going to do the best that I can. So what if people don't like it? So what if I get heat for this? Now, when I say that, now don't do nothing stupid like, robbing a bank or something, but I'm saying something practical and easy and basic. If it's, going to a certain college or something like that, don't let these people criticism because you choose to go to Duke or somewhere. I mean, you shouldn't let that persuade you because once again, this world, you'll never satisfy them. People love to criticize you. And as soon as you slip up, as soon as you make a wrong move, you could be living good for 80% of the time. As soon as you slip up, they're going to have their mouth running. So you got to just learn to say, you know what? If I get criticized for this, I'm not going to let this defeat me.
Let me chime in on this because I have a beautiful illustration. I have a perfect illustration about this. Let's say, because the name of what we're talking about tonight is warnings to look out for when developing character. Let's say I'm a couch potato. All I do is sit on the couch and watch TV, watch my phone. I'm always scrolling. And then I think about it and say, you know what? You're spending too much time on this couch. You're spending too much time on this cell phone. Why don't you start reading something very important about your mental status? So I tell everybody, I'm getting ready to start reading. I'm not going to be on that phone all the time. I'm going to dedicate 20 minutes a day, and I want to better my mindset. I want to become intellectual in an area. And then everybody starts saying, oh, man, you shouldn't be doing that, man. You're a bookworm. You don't need that, man. Forget them books. You don't need to worry about that. And so I'm afraid of what they're going to say. So instead of me doing what I know is right, I will not get off that couch because I'm afraid that everybody's going to talk about me. And yet the bottom line is I'm in a worse position now because I was afraid of the criticism as it would have been if I would have gotten my lazy butt off that couch and started reading something important, something teaching me some kind of just information that's going to better myself. So, and then we don't want people to say things about us. They're going to say things about us whether we like it or not. But a lot of us don't want to do and work on ourselves because we're afraid that people are going to talk about us like little kids, man.
Yeah. It's well said. And the letter N, becoming comfortable with doing what is easy instead of doing what is right. Now I'll let you take this one and I'm going to piggyback off of it.
Yeah, when you're developing your character, when you're developing character, sometimes we want to do what's comfortable instead of, and we want to be. I take that back. We become comfortable in doing what is easy. I should say, we do what is easy instead of doing what is right. See, because what's easy is when I'm working on something, I take the less path of resistance. I want to do something that's really it's nothing. It's simple. But what I need to do is what's right. And instead of doing what is right, I want to do something real easy that I know that I can get away with, that I know, and then I want people to look at me when I'm doing this thing because it's easy. So now when they look at me, I'm really showing them I'm good, but I'm really not good, man. I'm trash, but they think I'm good because what I'm doing is easy, but all along, that which I'm doing is wrong as two left shoes instead of being right. We got to stand up and have a backbone once again, Chazz.
Yeah, and we get comfortable with doing easy things, but sometimes they say you got to break out of the comfortability and do something that's hard. Now, when we say break out of comfortability, don't do nothing stupid, but we're saying do something that's going to better yourself that is going to become harder because sometimes we find ourselves in situations to where we're doing, like you said, all this easy stuff, and you look up and we're in a bigger hole. But you have to start getting out of your comfort zone, I guess they would say, and do some tougher things that are right. And that was the last point here. But Brother Ray had a good one. He says, actions speak louder than words. Stop telling people what you're going to do and let them see what you're going to do. And that's good because we always got our mouths running on these phones. We always on social media, telling people what we're going to do. You don't always have to broadcast what you're going to do. Like you said, just show up and do it because here's what's going to happen too. When you constantly broadcasting what you're going to do and it doesn't turn out the way you thought it was, then people really going to dog you out. People really going to hammer you then. But like he said, Stop always broadcasting all your moves and let people see what you're going to do. And that was our last point, brother. I don't know as far as what else, or you want to call it quits early, or you want
Oh
to give
man,
us
this is
that
a broad.
15
We can't.
minutes.
This is a broadcast. We can't cheat the people, man. We can talk forever. So just take his comment down, and let's keep talking about the importance of looking out for these things that happens, man, when we're developing character. You see, because sometimes when you're developing character, we just gave you some things to look out for. These warnings. There are so many more warnings, and that's what we would like for our broadcast guests to do. Sometimes you can give us warnings too. You know, Ray does it, other people do it, but you know, you can give us the warnings. In other words, what do we need to look out for when we're trying to develop character? So this is how we all can participate. And so yeah, we're not going to cheat you and get off the broadcast 15 minutes in advance. We can talk from now till the cows come home, but let's talk about our subject. Chaz, developing character is important. And if we start teaching our children, these are signs that we should look out for at a young age when you're trying to be a better person, then they're going to have some kind of information as to, okay, my relative told me this. Okay, I need to look out for this. I need to look out for pride when I'm working on myself. And even if we don't say it, like Brother Ray said, yeah, we don't always have to say it. But even when we don't say it, we still got to be able, man, to work on those things and look out for some potholes, look out for some roadblocks, because there are roadblocks that's put up in all of our lives when we're trying to become better people. And the thing of it is, and I'll turn it over to you, to be honest, sometimes, man, the very people that you see every day, that you have relationships with, these are the ones that put that roadblock up for you when you're doing what's right. You're trying to do what's right. You're working on your heart. You're working on your mind. You're working on your spirit. You're working on your soul. And you want to do what's right to become a better person. Here comes this person, and they do something that try to kick us off our game and throw us off our game. And these are the things that we have to discuss.
Yeah, and like you said, for the people who do try to, throw you off the game or kick you down, you don't always have to tell them, you know what, just because of that, I'm going to stop hanging with you. Just don't tell them anything at all and just go your own separate way. Now, mistakes do come up, but you don't always, like someone said earlier, broadcast, okay, since you did that to me, I'm kicking you off. I'm not hanging with you no more. You got to learn how to, like I was saying earlier, just be quiet and do what you're going to do, because sometimes when you announce what you're going to do, that gives that other person more time to load up and go harm you. Now, that doesn't happen all the time, but normally when you tell them that, that gives them ammunition to try and do something. Go go ahead.
No, Ray, go ahead with Ray's comment.
He said, persistence is doing the right thing step by step, even when you don't feel like it. Absolutely. There's always
That's
days where you get out the bed, you're a little bit tired, you don't have that much energy, but you got to keep saying, you know what? I'm going to keep doing it, even if I am tired, even if I'm not feeling good. But there's always going to be days we don't feel like it, but you still got to keep pushing through, because that shows that your hunger, and it shows how eager you are to knock certain things down. Appreciate that comment.
Yeah, let's also look at, Chaz, another warning we can look at. Let's look at the warning of don't allow failure to define what you're working on. Don't throw in the towel. Like if I say I'm going to work on something in my life, once again, we're talking about developing character. This is what the broadcast is about. How to become better people. So when we talk about working on ourselves, and let's say we go at it, bam, we fall. Don't let that failure say, well, you know what? I didn't do it, so I'm going to just stop doing it. That's a warning, man. So this is a warning that we want to give to people. Don't allow a failure or a setback, whatever you want to call it,
Right.
don't allow that to stop you from getting back on the horse and working on the areas of life that we need to work on, because there's so much going on in this world today and in our lives, and we got a lot of work to do, and we're going to fail in many areas. But don't let that be the thing that makes you say, well, you know what, because I couldn't do it, then I'm not going to work on it.
Right on time, because he comes back in and says it's not a failure if you learn from it. That's absolutely correct. If you learn from it and you learn from your failure, you say, you know what, I struggled in this area. Let me read some notes. Let me take some video courses to figure out how I can become better. That's good. But some failures, like he mentioned in his comment, is when we fold up shop, we stop altogether. We just, close this thing down. And you do not want to be like that. But he's saying when you fail, you should be able to learn from it instead of always want to fold up shop. But
Yeah.
that was well said.
When you're talking about developing character, that's all I'm talking about tonight. All this other stuff is fine because a lot of it has to do with developing character. And that's a part, like he just says, it's not a failure if you learn from it. That's a development. The warnings are what we're talking about. What do people need to look out for when they're trying to better themselves? What do we tell people as to, like a simple illustration is sometimes when you go places, especially when I was a younger kid, there would be a sign that says, warning, beware of dog. You knew that if you went in that yard, for the most part, there was a vicious animal that could attack you and tear you to shreds. That's warning you. So, what we're saying tonight, these are warnings that we must look out for. I don't know how simpler I can get it. We need to start telling people warnings and letting them know when you're trying to be better, you got to look out for things. Okay. And so that's why we're talking tonight about warnings to look out for when you're developing character.
Yeah, and then like he also commented another time, the failure is giving up. And the giving up part, like I just mentioned, that's so easy in our society is to throw in the towel, give up. But I don't know if a lot of people have the patience or if they have the fortitude to keep going through when things don't go our way, because we have these ideas in our head how we want certain things to go. But this giving up stuff, not Ray, but I'm just saying the people who think like that, you got to stop that, man. You got to. Everybody that you see, they had some kind of pushback for the most part, but they didn't just fold in. So he's saying that you got to keep going. But
Let
yeah,
me ask you a
that was
question. Let me ask you a question as you move his comment off the screen. Let me ask you a question. Chaz, what do you think? What do you just move all of that? We don't need anything on there. Just let the screen be blank. Let's just talk. We only have about 8 minutes. So here's what I want to ask you. What do you think the reason is that we don't give warnings? Why don't we warn people? We warn people of everything else. If there's a tornado, the newsman, the weatherman is going to warn us. If there's a hurricane, we get warned. Even with our children, we tell them, you touch that hot stove, you're going to get burnt. We always warn people. But when it comes to developing our character, so I think I want you to think about this as I frame this as
okay.
a question. Why do we not warn people what to look out for when we're trying to be better people? That's what I'm trying to get at.
I honestly think, brother, we're so wrapped up in our own world. We don't really care what other people are doing. We feel like whatever he or she's got going on, that's on them. Let them figure it out. Hey, they got all these videos and stuff they can learn from. But I think most of it, if I could just sum it up, basically, we're wrapped up in our own world on an
Mhm.
individual basis, and we don't have the patience to sit there and, as they would say, quote unquote, hold someone's hand and hope that they do the right thing. We just really don't have the patience for it. What I come up with.
Yeah, and I think that's really a wise saying because I just noticed in life growing up, we were warned a lot about what not to do. But when we're talking about in context, how to be better people. And I don't understand, man. But Raymond says they have to be receptive of the warnings. Yes, they have to be receptive of the warnings, but they have to get the warnings. See, and I understand what he's saying, and I agree with what he's saying. They have to be receptive because you can warn people all you want to. If they don't
Right.
do anything, then they're not gonna. But see, what I'm trying to get at is many of us don't warn people. That's what I'm talking. I'm not talking about being receptive, and he's right. But a lot of us don't even warn people. Many of us, like you mentioned, we're in our own world, we're in our own head, we're in our own mind, and we don't even warn people when it comes to developing character. Now we warn them of everything else. We warn them of, hey, don't spend all your money or do it this way. We warn them of educationally. We warn them of Afrocentricity. We warn them of all the things that we've been through. Look at the past. These are warnings. Just look at what we've done. But what I'm trying to say is, and what I'm asking, and you've answered it, what I'm saying is many of us, we don't warn people about their developing of the character. That's what I'm talking about.
Do you want to address this when he
Yeah.
basically says
Yeah,
from
he
the
said.
going into
Yeah,
us getting going?
that's true too. That's true too. But again, warnings, Chaz. These are tips that we're trying to say. Hey, just look out for this. That's all we're saying. It doesn't matter whether they agree or not. It doesn't matter whether these people do what we say or not. What matters is that we're out there to help them. It's just like our parents. It's just like all of our parents have told us, our friends, our relatives. They've warned us in many ways. And we may not have listened to everything, but they at least warned us, man. And now when we talk about character now, how to become better people, that's what I'm looking at now.
This was a good one. He says, because sometimes when you warn them, they lash out at you. So you have to be selective. Yeah, we talked about that, I think, a few broadcasts ago, where people, as soon as you warn them, they do lash out because they feel arrogant. They feel like you can't tell them about anything. In fact, this goes to what you were just saying a few minutes ago. When we try to warn them, they don't want to hear it. And this is why they lash out, which I'm not agreeing with. I'm not condoning it. I'm just putting it in context of what he's saying. They lash out because they don't want to hear what you got to say is what this brother's saying. So he's saying you
And
also
and
have to be
here's
selective.
what I want to say about that. Let's say most of the people that we talk to, they're not gonna lash out. Now some people do. He's right because he says sometimes. Most people aren't gonna lash out. When you, I know you, you know me. Most of the people that we talk to, we have relationships with. Now, an idiot will do that. But if you tell me you're working on something in your life, and I give you a tip, a warning, you're not going to lash out at me. You may not listen to me, but everything is not fiery. Like he said, sometimes, and even if they do lash out at us, so what? So what? We've been lashed out at many times before, especially with our children. You know, we warn our children how about their character ever since they were little. Even if they didn't listen to us or they said something stupid, we still were there. We still told them. We didn't stop because, and Raymond's not saying that they stopped, but we didn't stop because they lashed out at us. When you love people, when you care for people, when you have a heart for people, it doesn't matter the consequences, man. You got to do it, because if you don't do it, and if I don't do it, if we don't do it, no one's going to do it. So again, we're going back to the warnings, and we can sit here and make up all the excuses we want to. But brothers and sisters, we've got to, we will have to look at what are we going to do in a world that doesn't understand that character is important. And we have to develop character. And in some instances, we have to warn people. And I'm really talking till I'm blue in the face. Because again, the warnings are what I'm saying. You just do it. If you warn me about something and I don't take heed to it, I don't care. So what? At least I did my part, okay?
Brother Ray also is playing around. He says, I've been called Captain Obvious for giving warnings. Well,
Well,
you got to.
Captain Obvious, you're doing a great job. Let me encourage you. And I know this is he's having fun with us again, but I want to encourage you. I want to encourage you, Ray. I don't care what they call you. They can call you anything. You've got to, and I know you're not going to get off your game because of what they say, because
Right.
you warn us, Ray, you warn us on many instances when we're doing our broadcast and it's in subject and all that. All we're saying is we've got to, brothers and sisters, we've got to be there because we're the ones, no one else, other people aren't going to warn us. They're going to take advantage of us.
Yeah. And we're going to go ahead. I wanted to read this other sister, and she's always welcome. She says, so sorry, family. We'll be here next week. That's all good. You can watch this on the playback. And let me go ahead and make this announcement again because someone asked this earlier. It is not Cry's Womb anymore. If you are on Facebook, you have to type in JAHI space OSAZE. That's how the page will pop up because we
But
had
let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Chess, because these are the same people that's been watching the broadcast. Even though we changed the name, I changed it to my name. Aren't they still able to get through, or do you have to? How
no,
does
because
she?
they are right because I tried to look a couple weeks ago, and when I type in Cry's Womb, you didn't pop up, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, what's going on? So when I went and typed in the name JAHI, it
Uh,
came up. So they are right, even though that they're subscribed, you're not going to see it. That's why Ray asked that earlier
okay,
about
good. That's a good observation. Good. I thought that because they were already friends, it automatically comes up.
Now, and once again, for the new people, it's JAHI space OSAZE. And the brother says, I found you. Okay, well, we're glad. We're glad that y'all searching. We're glad that someone's looking for us. We're glad. Tell people about this broadcast. Tell them about it. So we're glad that people are still motivated and interested. Sister Sharon, Sister Marie, everybody who watched, we appreciate it. Now, let me ask you this before we log off. Have you found any new topics for next week, or are you still deciding?
Yeah, we're going to get off of this one because I think we didn't warn people enough. We didn't give them character development tips. We've been on this for about what, three weeks, or for about a month rather, a month. So we'll come up with something new. In fact, we may post it before the time. If not, we ask that you tell people about this broadcast, like this broadcast, subscribe to us, and come back next week at 6 o'clock if you're Central Standard Time on the East Coast with Brother Ray at 7 o'clock. Because we're going to always have something that we can help our people with. Because right now we're living in a time and day where we got to have practical guys, no nonsense ladies that's going to say, hey, these are the subjects we got to talk about. And Chazz, character is a big subject in our community because a lot of people don't work on their character. We just live any kind of way, and we can be better people because that's the goal of life, is to become a better person and make this world a better place when you leave than when you came into this place.
I'm going to read this last comment before we skedaddle on out of here. Brother Ray says, warning, warning, without crash will kill and destroy. Yeah, if you don't warn these people, they will kill and they will destroy. But once again, we do thank everybody who tuned in this week. Please tell somebody about this broadcast. We do thank each and every one of you who took precious amount of time out your day to check it. And if you couldn't watch it live, please watch us on the playback. And once again, I appreciate you, brother, for having me on. And we're going to see you guys next week.